If you're nailing a piece of baling wire to the wall, you're going to play it with something. I don't think the slide matters. You don't have to do anything. There are no rules. I don't think there are any rules. So me telling you about stuff feels a little bit ironic. I've met plenty of guitar players who really earnestly believe that there are a lot of rules associated with guitar playing, and I couldn't disagree more.
Well, we live in an amazing time for learning guitar. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but we do. And the other day, Charlie Parr reached out and asked if any of my students who are learning more like folk guitar styles might want to learn slide guitar. What he actually said was, maybe we just do like 4 or 5 students and film it for anyone else who might want to get at it later. And then he goes on, should it be free? We'd be celebrated for our dedication to teaching slide guitar to the young. So that's how it all started. Here's how it all went. So myself, along with 5 of my most dedicated guitar students, took a private workshop with Charlie Parr, along with Dave Hundreiser. You might know Dave more from playing harmonica on Charlie's records. They went into all the details of like the slides you can use, the guitars you can use, the strings you can use, the setup, the histories of all the players who started the slide guitar, and the players who are taking it into the future today. They also left me with a greater understanding of the meaning of practice, using a slide as a means for exploring your guitar in a new way. I put together a few of the greater bullet points for you guys here on YouTube, but also, since I kind of view my Patreon as an extension of my personal studio, anyone who's on the Patreon, whether they're showing up for the freebies or paying to play, has access to the entire unedited workshop over on Patreon. Why? Well, Charlie Parr and I kind of see eye to eye on this. Like, we both somehow make a living playing folk music. And a part of that is learning how to advocate for yourself, advocate for yourself to like make a living and support your family, but also advocating for others who want to get in the room, who want to learn how to do this stuff, right? It's just really important. So in an effort to kind of uphold those ethics, there it is, the entire thing available over on the Patreon. So let's land the plane here. Let's look into the room of Charlie Parr's super secret slide guitar workshop.
The first thing I gotta say is I'm not a good teacher. I'm a terrible teacher. Yeah, good, okay. So I know how to do some stuff, but I don't know how to tell you how to do it. So let's see. I was gonna talk about slides. So yeah, if anybody needs one, or you can have one if you just want a piece of copper conduit to play slide with, which is what Son House did. Is he would misplace stuff all the time, apparently. And so he would have his road manager or manager, Bill Watterson, bring him to a hardware store, and he would have the hardware store attendant just like cut him off a couple of inches of a piece of copper conduit, and he'd take it to the show and lose it again. So, but that was one thing I wanted to talk about is that and this is maybe an opinion, but I don't think the slide matters. I think your fingers matter a lot more, and practicing matters a lot more. And if you look at history, like Son House used a piece of copper conduit. It feels cheap. It's way light, but he sounded amazing. Booker White used a piece of a steel conduit. Unless he was playing lap style, then he used a piece of a broken off screwdriver, which you can see in the videos of him playing, and it's a Phillips head screwdriver. Mance Lipscomb used a pocket knife. He used the back edge of a pocket knife, which I wish I had brought mine. I forgot to bring it. So the slide doesn't matter. It's all about what you like that matters, what you feel comfortable with. If you like heavy, use heavy. The first, I've usually made my own slides up until recently when I got really too hoity-toity and fancy pants to use homemade slides. But I was cutting bottles off when I was a teenager because bottles are great. This is the near end of a Winchester Model 97 12 gauge that works really well. It's super heavy, but the tone is great. It lasts forever, but it's really heavy. I have an antique Corseidon medicine bottle, which of course is, Dwayne Allman. And a lot of the sound is the same. You don't notice the difference in the sound when you're sitting in front of the guitar, but you notice it a lot when you're using it, So it's why it's really important to be comfortable. This is a really expensive slide from Germany. This is a bullet nose slide. It was cut from a solid piece of German silver. It's $40 worth of slide. No noticeable difference to you. A lot of difference to me in the way it fits my finger and plays. This is a slide from England. This is blown leaded glass. It's about $50 worth of slide. I got it for free because I know the guy. So. It's my current favorite one, so it's the one I've been using most often. But what I recommend is find a few different things that you like that feel different and just practice with all of them all the time. So I hold the slide on my pinky. It doesn't matter where you hold your slide. A lot of people hold it on their ring finger. Bonnie Raitt puts it on her middle finger. She's fucking Bonnie Raitt, so if she's doing it there and you want to do it there, that's great. I've never seen anyone do it on their first finger, but if you like that, you can do that too. It doesn't honestly matter. It's all about what you're comfortable with. I put it on my pinky finger because I want to fret. I want to use my other fingers to fret. And I don't, my pinky's kind of weak anyway, so I don't often use it in playing. So it goes there, and then I can fret the guitar all I want. The setup of the guitar is kind of important. I like the action to be medium to high in the range of where a good guitar should be set up. You know, so you don't want it so you can't fret it. You don't want it so it's not in tune. You don't want the intonation to be wrong. So you always want the guitar to be set up well, even low, because it's all about your fingers. It's not about the guitar, about the slide. It's about you practicing. I brace my ring finger against the slide so I can control it. If you're playing with your ring finger, then you're going to use either your pinky or your middle finger to brace the slide so the slide's not flopping around. You want to hold on to it a little bit. A lot of guitar players will tell you you have to damp the strings behind the slide. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do anything. There are no rules. You make them up yourself. Listen to the difference between Leo Kottke playing a 12 string with a slide and Jesse Fuller playing a 12 string with a slide. Leo Kottke damps the strings aggressively, so you get no other sound, and it's great. He's Leo Kottke. He can do whatever he wants. Jesse Fuller damps no strings at all, and everything's whining out everywhere. He's great because he's Jesse Fuller. So, and you can hear it a little bit if I'm playing. So that's without damping, and then if I'm damping, you hear a little bit more clarity there. You hear more precision. You can get individual notes a little bit better. That's entirely up to you. But my feeling about it is, it depends on the piece of music you're playing. Some music needs to sound a little wilder. It needs to have a little more freedom, so you don't want to damp. And then other songs, you want them to be tighter. You want them to feel that way. So it's important to learn both techniques. And again, all this stuff is really subjective to me. I don't think there are any rules. So me telling you about stuff feels a little bit ironic. Ideas. These are just ideas. These are suggestions. I started playing slide really early. Yeah. And I found that my pinky is weak, like you say. Yeah. And it would flop, hit the guitar. I don't like that sound very much. Even though if you listen to Man's Lipscomb, you better learn to like that sound. That's a lot of that. Yeah. That sound is in there a lot. So I want to hold the slide. If you're playing, if you're playing in your lap, you've got your whole hand around the thing, Which Dave was going to come and talk about lap stuff.
So is dobro still WAP steel? Can dobro be a WAP steel still?
Well, yeah. I mean, okay, this is... Oh, he's bringing the guitar. Good. Maybe. Hey, Dave!
Hey.
We got to find a chair for Dave. Dave has a guitar that's specifically made for lap style playing, but you can do it on any guitar.
Square it.
Right?
Here.
Yeah, so this guitar is entirely made out of steel. The neck is made out of steel. It's hollow all the way up the back of the guitar. They're as strong as can be. This one is, well, both of these guitars are tricones, which was a different innovation if you read the history of National and the patent process. Their initial patent was for a quadracone. It had 4 cones on it. Then a tricone. Then the single cone came last. So this guitar is always played on your lap. You can't fret it. You see how high the action is. And you'd use a bar with it, which is usually just a solid piece of either glass or steel. This is my favorite guitar that you have.
It's my favorite too.
That's nice.
Yeah. In 1902, there was a guy named W.C. Handy who was, do you know much about him, Charlie, except that he was more big band, vaudeville type style? And he was actually in Tutwiler, Mississippi, which was the heart of the Delta, and at night he was waiting for a train, and there was a guy that came up to him and sat down next to him, said very loose jointed, and he played on his lap a song called, he was singing about where the Southern crosses the Yellow Dog Railroad, and he was talking about going down to a railroad interlocking down by Moorhead, and he was singing about it. And W.C. Handy said it was the most eeriest thing he's ever heard. The guy was in rags, his feet were sticking out of his shoes, and it completely changed his life into a port where he wanted to study blues more. But see, it was always going on in the country, you know, country blues and slide playing, especially Jessie Mae Hemphill. She played Diddy Bow. I got to hang out with one of Napoleon Strickland's relatives in Como, Mississippi, and he was also a Diddy Bow player. And these guys would actually like nail like an actual, like a baling wire, a broom wire, like from the top of their cabin roof down to the floor, and they would run medicine bottles over it and things like that. And the whole cabin or the building became like a resonator, a guitar box. Mm-hmm. But a lot of guys and gals would take like just a short section of wire and they put a big bottle or a mason jar under it as like a bridge support, and they would run it as single string runs. Mm-hmm. And you know, and there are some recordings of it. So nobody really knows how long or when this all started, except a very, very long time ago. Yeah. Hawaiians were playing lap style and bottleneck. Do you know anything more about it? It's just a very ancient.
It's been around before. You know. I mean, if you're nailing a piece of baling wire to the wall, you're going to play it with something.
Yeah.
And a lot of the old guys, like the Black Ace, he played with a medicine bottle, a full-on like medicine bottle on his lap. There's a film of him playing.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a really old history. So.
Yeah. And you know, and one thing I would like to tell you guys, if you're brand new at bottleneck playing, there's a guy, Luther Dickinson, that plays with the Mississippi All-Stars, and he has a really cool video on bottleneck guitar, and he said, work with one string at a time. Another thing too, which some people like noise, or they call it noise, I call it overtones. But if you want to get control of the slide, dampen front of the slide a little bit with your hands. I like a rattly sound like Sunhouse. He didn't do that at all. He was just full straight on. But some people approach it a little bit more pure. Well, you know.
Yeah, different songs seem to call for different.
Yeah.
I gotta ask a quick question.
Yes, of
I'm
course.
super new at this. Kyle and I just started kind of going over this in the last few weeks.
Oh, nice.
Dampening.
Dampening is going to be what I was talking about earlier, where you're holding one of your fingers or your whole finger on the strings before the slide. So it cuts all the overtones out. And when you're playing like regular guitar, and you can damp it back here. That's dampening as well. And the pressure that you put on the strings, and this is important, the pressure that you put on the strings is not actually pressure at all. You don't want to push into the strings. You're laying your fingers on the strings without pushing down on the strings. So you're not fretting them, you're just laying your fingers on the strings. soft hand, soft slide. Because you're laying the slide, I'm just touching the slide. I want to make contact. I want the contact to be tight so that you get a tone, but I don't want there to be any pushing. Because as soon as you push, you get that sound. You don't want that. You know, you want a tone. So I'm not actually pushing the slide down, I'm just connecting it to the string. And that might take a little bit of practice. I use, you know, and that's the other thing about a slide. I use bullet nose slides because I want to get that kind of same control even inside the guitar, you know. Where am I here? I got too many strings. So I can get into the guitar. And you can do that with any slide. I can do that with a slide that's made out of a shotgun barrel. You can. It doesn't matter. It's a matter of practice. Yeah. So
Once again, though, you're not applying much pressure.
You know,
I'm almost implying no pressure.
back like when probably Charlie can attest to when we were young, people that were into slides said, get really heavy gauge strings on your guitars and all this kind of stuff like that. But now as we're older, we realize the greatest slide players play with very light strings. I mean, it was like Derek Trucks play with like
Light gauge, nines.
nines.
These are 11s. I mean, yeah, and it's got to do with your comfort level. You know, the amount of pressure that you want on that slide is not. You know, these are 11s, and I'm getting plenty of tone. If you've got 13, suddenly you can't fret them anymore. So you know they're too heavy. You can apply the right amount of pressure with any slide in the world. It just has to hit the strings. Is hit the strings and make a tone. And sometimes it's nothing will replace practice. You know, just like you do when you're playing the regular way. You know, you don't want to hit a lot of clams. Go through your stuff with the slide on and do it that way. You know, and guys like Derek Trucks, thinking, you know, I sat with him and watched him play. Sometimes he's playing in standard tuning, and it's just plowing through scales with a slide on. You know, because he can do it.
And if you're playing with open tunings, like let's say just say open D or E, there's 3 octaves, so you can do like a single string run on the first string, and then your 6th string you can do the same exact runs, and that's good practice to do that, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I use flat wound strings on my guitars because I don't like the noise of. Well, you can't hear it now because I don't have it, but that sound. I don't enjoy that sound. So a lot of guitar players enjoy that sound. Some guitar players really utilize that sound. It's an important part of their thing, so it's great. I've met plenty of guitar players who really earnestly believe that there are a lot of rules associated with guitar playing, and I just couldn't agree. I couldn't disagree more. I really don't think that there are a lot of rules. Getting to that, if you're playing in an ensemble and you're playing in an open tuning like open D, which is a major chord, you know, and they're suddenly, you know, going all minor on you, it's also good to practice learning how to fret the guitar behind the slide. Which is a challenging thing to do. It takes a little bit of work, but it's really worth it. If you listen to Sonny Landreth, Sonny Landreth can solo behind his slide, but he's playing a Stratocaster, so. But so that's, you know, like this is going to be a what is that, a chord. There's the minor of the A chord. So it's just it's the single fret down on the 2nd string.
You're just tipping your slide up enough?
No.
Oh, it's there.
That's how, and that answers the pressure question. If you can play a note behind the slide without moving the slide at all, that's the pressure you're looking for all the time when you're holding the slide on the guitar. So that's something that I highly recommend practicing that way. You know, fret the guitar behind the slide, do things that you know put the you know put the emphasis on how much pressure you have on your slide, because that's all no matter what you use for a slide. If you use a big lighter, pressure is one of the primary things.
Like you had said, if you could practice and have the lightest touch, just like baby's hands, you can dig into it, or you get so much tone, if you can have control of it.
Right. Well, that's where dynamics comes from. Have all the control. It's all about control. That's why you have to practice a lot, because you want to control everything that's happening on the guitar. You want, the right amount of pressure over here, the right amount of pressure over here. When the guitar, what's the sound that leaves the guitar if you're playing shows, you want all the control. Nothing against sound engineers, but you want to decide what your tone is. And you as a sound engineer are going to be grateful when a guitar player shows up and goes, I know what I want my guitar players to sound like. And you're going to help me do that, So every aspect of your instrument is controlled by you.
Don't let the guitar play you, Charlie.
That's right. Don't let the guitar play you.
Any other questions?
I probably could have done a better job of this. I should have wrote some stuff down. I don't think I know anymore. I mean, there's not much that fits up there.
Yeah, it's practice. You got to practice, and live and breathe it, eat it. Don't get frustrated. Light touch, delicate touch. It's everything.
We'll hang out as long as you guys want. I brought grapes and cheese.
Nice.
Yeah, and I brought poorly made copper slides.
Yeah.
Grab one of those.
It's beautiful.
And again, the entire workshop is available over on my Patreon for all members. You check that out. Also, you should check out the workshop that Charlie Parr and Tony Polacastro are doing at the Blue Ox Music Festival. If you live in the 1,000-mile square radius, I'm telling you, you should go. In the meantime, I have more lessons with Charlie here on the channel. You can check them out now.